Hi, I'm Bill Griffith, an application engineer with Keysight Technologies, and today we're going to look at the group execute trigger. The group execute trigger can be used to trigger multiple devices on the GPIB bus. For example, today we're going to use a couple power supplies. The power supplies we're using are from the E3640 series, which is comprised of some single output power supplies that offer a dual range. In addition to that, we also have a dual output power supply with dual range as well. But for our example, we're going to use the single output power supplies. We're going to set up each of the power supplies, and then we're going to send a single group execute trigger, and with that, both power supplies will turn on. I'm going to move to the PC now. So looking at our example program, which is written in Visual Basic for Excel, we go ahead and we define our interfaces and our power supply addresses. So one of the unique things we need to do is when setting a group execute trigger is we've got to know the address of our GPIB, our controller. So the program's simple enough. We start it, and then we set up each of the power supplies. And then once the power supplies are set up, then we send a single group execute trigger, and our DUTs turn on simultaneously. And with that, we can go ahead and then close out our connections. So let's look at the underlying code. So the first thing, and I'll go ahead and post this too because there's a lot here. But the first thing we need to do is define our addresses for each of the instruments, as well as our GPIB controller. The next thing we do is we send out the Skippy code to the first power supply. So I started with a reset. I set the voltage for 10 volts, the output on, and the trigger source is bus. So it's waiting for a trigger from the bus, which will be the group execute trigger. And then we go ahead and initiate our trigger. So it's just waiting until it gets the group execute trigger. Exact same thing for power supply 2. And since these are independent power supplies, we could define different voltages for each of them, and we can define different delays for them. So we can have a little bit of delay on our second one, just as an example to show that after it receives the trigger, it takes a second to turn on, or half second in this case. Okay, now this is where the group execute trigger is, and unfortunately there's not a command for it. So what we have to do is we have to drop down to the low level commands across the GPIB bus. And so the way we do that is we go ahead and we create some strings with the low level addresses in them. So we first load up the addresses for the GPIB card and our power supplies, and then the trick here is that if you think of it as one long register, there's a listen bit and there's also a talk bit. So what we want to do is we want to set our two power supplies with the listen bit plus their address, so there's an OR there, and then we want to have the controller be in talk mode, so we take its address and we OR it with that bit. The get command, the group execute trigger, has its own byte value, so we'll need that, as well as the unlisten all command. So now that we've got all of our variables defined with our low-level commands, we can go ahead and send it out. So we'll start with our unlisten all command. So we send that out across the bus, so now no devices are listening. Then we go ahead and send out our string that we created. So it puts both power supplies in the listen mode, and it puts the controller in talk mode. And then we send out our get, our low-level get command. And then once we're done with that, we'll put up a message box saying that the trigger's been sent. So again, I'll go ahead and post this code, but that's how we can create a group execute trigger by using the low-level GPIB commands. And then the last thing we did is we went ahead and closed out all of our connections across the GPIB. So that's the program. So I hope you found that interesting. So that's how you create a group execute trigger across the GPIB bus using the low-level GPIB commands to form the group execute trigger. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.